Tonight's video is a review for tomorrow's quiz, and my suggestion is to, you don't have a note sheet for this, so copy all these down in your notebook and work them out. And I would work them out first, pause the video, or copy them down, pause the video, work them out, and then check back on the video to see if you got them right. There's no Google form for this, and this just needs to be worked out in your notebook. So there's no note sheet and no Google form. So this is a list of what's going to be on the quiz tomorrow. There are 5 ways to prove triangles congruent. Angle, angle, side, side, angle, side, 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 hypotenuse, leg for right triangles only, and angle, side, angle. So you need to know these theorems and postulates and be able to list corresponding sides and angles of congruent triangles. That's the CPCTC. And this is what the proofs are going to be on. You need to solve for the missing side lengths or angles of 2 congruent triangles, and there are 2 proofs. You'll be given the statements, but there will not be a word bank for the givens. Okay, first we're going to take a look at number 1, and just have to fill in the blanks. So if I have triangle RST is congruent to triangle ABC, I need to know that the measure of angle C corresponds to which angle on ABC, or I'm sorry, on RST, and the measure of angle R corresponds to which side, or which angle. RS corresponds to which side on ABC. Same thing ST and AC. And it might be to your benefit to draw the triangles. And then number 2, write a congruent statement for each pair of congruent triangles. So at this point I would pause the video and then check back for your answers. Okay, so at this point you should be done. So the way the triangles are set up, RST and ABC, these are in their respective order. So angle R is going to correspond to angle A, angle S to angle B, angle T to angle C. And then side RS to AB, side ST to BC, side RT to AC. And I just marked them on the diagram down here. Number 2, the corresponding, the congruent statement, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. A corresponds to E, B corresponds to D, and C corresponds to itself. And same thing here, ABC and DEF. So AB corresponds to side DE. They both have 1 mark. Side BC corresponds to side DF. They both have 2 marks. And then side AC corresponds to side DF, which is right here. Okay, part 3, are the triangles congruent? If so, state the theorem or postulate you use. Remember, there's 5 of them, and if not, write not possible. So once again, we're looking at angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle, side, 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 and hypotenuse, leg. So pause the video and then check back for your answers. So in example number 9, we have angle, side, angle, so it's ASA, and we do it in this order, so there's an angle, there's a side, there's an angle, so that is one of our theorems and postulates. 10 is side, side, side. I label them so I know which theorem or postulate I'm going to use. 11 is side, angle, side. This side right here is reflexive, so it's congruent to itself. Here we have angle, 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 and that is not one of our congruent postulates or theorems, so this is not possible. Number 13, we have angle, angle, side, which is possible. And 14 is another not possible because we have ASS, or sorry, SSA, and that is not one of our congruent theorems or postulates. Okay, so in this section you need to copy down the diagram and the proof, and some of the proofs are short. We're proving in these 3 that the triangles are congruent. And again, we have to use those 5 theorems or postulates to prove them congruent. So pause the video, work out your proofs, and then check the next slide for the proofs. Okay, so here's proof number 1. So our givens are that angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent, and angle 2 and angle 4. So we have 2 sides, so we either need a 3rd side or an angle that's included or not included. So we can use this included side, CB, and CB is congruent to itself. That's the reflexive property of congruence. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DCB by angle, side, angle. Okay, let's take a look at the second proof. So the second proof, we're given that G is the midpoint of FB and AE. So that tells us that EG is congruent to AG, and then FG is congruent to BG. So we have to prove that triangle ABG is congruent to EFG. So we're going to write down our given, that G is the midpoint of FB and AE, that's given. So that leads us to the next, which is FG and GB are congruent, and EG and AG, and that's by definition of midpoint. So we have two sides, so we have to figure out, okay, well, we either need a third side or we need to get this angle right here. And we're going to use that angle because that's easy to prove because these are vertical angles, so angle FGE is congruent to angle BGA. Vertical angles are congruent. So we have our side, we have our angle, and we have our side. So triangle ABG is congruent to EFG by side angle side. Okay, finally here's the last proof. We need to prove that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. So I wrote down my givens that angle ABD and angle CBD are congruent, that these two little angles up here, and then ADB and CDB are also congruent, that's these two angles down here. So we have our two angles. The only other option we have is to find a side. So we have our given, so our side is that BD is congruent to itself. That's the reflexive property of congruence. We have an angle, an included side, and an angle, so triangle ABD is congruent to CBD by angle, side, angle. Okay, and in 16 and 17, you need to find the values of x and y. Triangle PQR is congruent to triangle ABC. So once again, at this point, I would pause the video, draw out your triangles, and then solve for x and y in number 16 and in number 17. Okay, here is number 16. So I've gone ahead and drawn out my diagram. So PQR is congruent to ABC, which means corresponding angles and corresponding sides are congruent. So we'll take a look at R and C first. Angle R and angle C are corresponding angles, so they're equal. So we set these two equal to one another, and we get x equals 5. To solve for y, I'm plugging 5 in for x, because side BC is x plus y. So side BC is 5 plus y. It corresponds to side QR. They're congruent triangles, so their corresponding sides are congruent. 4y plus 2 equals 5 plus y. We solve for y and we get 1. Okay, so for this one we had to actually solve one variable in terms of the other. So we know that PQ and AB are corresponding sides, so 2x plus y is equal to 7. So I solved for y so that I could substitute it back in this equation up here. So I got y equals 7 minus 2x. So I plugged in this equation, 4x plus, all I did was take out y, and I plugged in 7 minus 2x, and I got x equals 2. Then I took x equals 2, plugged it into 4x plus y equals 11, and I got y equals 3. There is no Google form for these problems. You were just to do the problems in your notebook and check, so we do have a quiz tomorrow, so if there's any questions, please jot them down. You can ask them in class tomorrow. Have a good night.